nice and lovely. Guapa and guapos. Kumusta? I'm very shy, so, and I'm not a good public speaker, but let me start by thanking God for this day. That's good. That's okay. I didn't know about. All right, I'm going to continue in the interest of time. Today is the day that the Lord has made, and without God, all of us are nothing. So we give praise to God. I want to thank officially President Salazar, the President of Southwest SWU FEMA, Dr. Gamboa, the Vice President of SWU FEMA, and my friend, the Dean of Medicine, Dr. Aznan. I want to also thank the faculty, distinguished guests, parents, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great privilege and honor to be here. Came here all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, because every time I hear the name Southwestern, I remain inspired. Without Southwestern, I will not be here. As I look at you out there, the young men and women, the new doctor and doctoras, I'm reminded that 30 years ago, so 30 years, 3 decades, you know? I'm sure you guys are still wondering, you're like, wow, 30 years, you still look young, I know. 30 years ago, I was sitting in the same seats you guys were sitting at. That was when we graduated. And when you look at the inspiring words spoken on that day, I'm reminded on whose shoulders that we are elevated. I have a lot of wonderful professors who trained me. And one of the things I did not realize is how much the training you guys are getting from SWU FEMA is going to project you into the world. You are going to be pleasantly surprised about the quality of the education that you have obtained from this institution. When I was, before I move forward, I want to take a minute to thank the parents. The love of a parent to nurture a child all the way through medical school cannot be underestimated. In the days of them not having anything, they did not want anybody to know, they struggle to make you guys here today. So I want the first round of applause here today, a very strong round of applause for the parents. As I look back there at the proud parents, I'm reminded of my parents, God rest their soul, who made the same trip here 30 years ago, flying 16,000 miles from Lagos to come to Cebu to witness this occasion. I see the same pride and joy in the face of these parents today. And I cannot be any prouder. Gentlemen, ladies, today you are doctors of medicine. I want you to think about that for a minute. Think about what that means to you. And I'm going to try and speak for like maybe the next 5-10 minutes onto what has inspired me in the last 30 years since I left Southwestern. The Doctor of Medicine degree is an elevation. You are elevated to a degree of Doctor of Medicine. From now forward, you will always be doctors. And that is very, very important. It's a position, it's a duty, there's a responsibility that comes to being a physician. You guys are going to go from this room to the rest of the world. Everywhere you go on the continent, there's a Filipino doctor or a Filipino nurse. Anywhere you go in the States, there are all Filipino doctors everywhere, like you guys. You don't know where you're going to end up. I went to Atlantica, and they had a Filipino doctor. Let's give a round of applause, please, to all the Filipino doctors that went before you. Thank you. Now, to be a physician, I decided purposefully not to write anything down today because I want to speak to you. I want it to be a little interactive. I want you to feel it. To be a doctor means so many things. But one of the most important things in being a doctor is knowing your worth, how valuable you are as physicians. When I tell you in this room that all of you guys individually and collectively have more power than Napoleon. Do you believe that? You say, Napoleon, wow, that's a great French warrior. You have more power than Ateneo. You say, wow. We have that kind of power? Yes, you do. To exemplify this, I'm going to tell you a little story. Can you show me by the raise of hands whether you recognize this name? Dr. Stella Umeyo. Does that name mean anything to anybody? No. Okay. Dr. Stella, in 2014, the Ebola virus was ravaging West Africa. Do you remember that? Now, Ebola is a hemorrhagic viral disease that has no cure. It's 100% death, and there's still no cure, and it's spread by human contact. The countries, there was an outcry in the Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Senegal, and the WHO was the biggest, was of most urgency to get this contained. On early July 2014, one of the patients who has failed to be quarantined flew from Liberia to Lagos, Nigeria, a 1.5 hour flight, and came to the airport in Lagos with a temperature of 103. This gentleman collapsed at the Nigerian airport in Lagos and was brought to Dr. Stella's clinic. The first doctor that saw Mr. Sawyer diagnosed him with malaria. Malaria is endemic in Nigeria, like the rest of the continent. And most people who have fevers are automatically diagnosed with malaria. But young doctors always think out of the box. You will save lives. That is our job. That is your training. That is your purpose. That is the duty that you've accepted. The responsibility. Going back to the story. The following day, this young lady doctor was doing rounds and saw Mr. Sawyer, and she was not convinced that this patient had malaria. She believed that this patient had Ebola. Keep in mind, Nigeria, the medical practice in Nigeria is not very developed at all. The clinics are mostly non-functional. The doctor decided to quarantine this patient, even without a diagnosis. This gentleman is a member of the ECOWAS, like a big politician. So just think about it. She has no diagnosis, but she's telling this big politician, you cannot leave. The president of Liberia calls the doctor and says, if you don't let this patient go to the meeting for my country, we're going to close down your hospital. She said, no, she's not going to go. They sent the test to the States. Now, before that, about 3 days before the test came back, this patient got very belligerent, and he took out his IV and splattered 6 people in the hospital with blood, including the doctor. She still did not give up. To cut the long story short and moving forward, the patient had Ebola. The doctor died. This is the commitment. This is the spirit. This is what we do. But in the death of this doctor, she became a national hero. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, this doctor is the most important physician in the last decade, anywhere in the world. Think about it. If this patient had been released and had contacted or contracted the infection to other people in the country, the whole country, Nigeria has 170 million people with very limited resources. It's my estimate that probably 20-25% of that population will have been wiped out. Period. With this story, I want you to grasp your importance. How great a profession you are. People listen to you, they have to listen. Now, in the interest of time, as important as your profession is, one of the things I also want to express is to dignify people. Show respect to your colleagues. Even though the intern is the lowest level form of animal, according to Dr. Katan, even the intern has an opinion, and this needs to be respected. You're practicing in a world filled of physicians, in a world of 7 billion people. I'm going to give you an example, again, I'm a storyteller, of why it's important to listen to your colleagues, listen to the intern, not that you're doctors, listen to the medical students, listen to your friends, listen to your family, put everything together. Do not be arrogant, because medicine is very humbling. And the moment you get arrogant, you will be humbled. I remember a case in Mount Sinai when I was a resident, a long time ago. I was the intern, the lowest form of animal. I had a patient, Mr. J.P. Pistono. Mr. J.P. Pistono was about 86 years old with bad dementia, and he was on the floor. It was my first day as an intern. So you know your first day as an intern, you don't know nothing. You're clueless. Even the nurses know more than you. I went into the room. Oh, by the way, Mr. Pistono was a retired lawyer and an amateur boxer. The first thing I noticed is that Mr. Pistono, when he's tired, he would punch the air with the uppercut. From his boxing days. So you have to be careful when you're talking to him. If you're within his reach, he's demented, you don't know. All right. So we had this patient had a case of acute retention. And the lowest form of animal had to call a consult. I was so scared, like, oh my God, I have to talk to the big doctor, the urologist. A short Jewish man, very, very dignified, came in his gabardine suit. And I'm like, doctor, yes. He said, who's the intern? I said, Akoland. He said, oh really? So what's going on with your patient? Present the patient to me. I said, doctor, Mr. Pistono, your shaky voice. So I said, he's 86 years old and he has dementia. And he has acute retention. And he said, oh, enough now. No more. I already know. I said, sir. He said, no, don't tell me anything else. This finger will be the one to tell us. I said, doctor? He said, no, shh, intern, shut up. Okay now. So he goes to the patient's bedside. Because they said the man is demented, he did not ask him any questions. He proceeded to ram his finger up his butt. And Mr. Pistono, the only reflex he knows is his left uppercut. So, boom! The glasses fell there. The urologist fell on the right. Then he said, "What's the man here? Why did you not tell me?" I said, "Doctor, I tried to tell you." He said, "Shh, done. Shh." I said, "Oh." For the next few years, every time I saw this urologist, even at a restaurant, even if at a mall, he would say, "Oh, Adiogan, I'm going to shop in Rostans. Is there anything I should know?" So that is just to typify how you have to respect your colleagues. Be compassionate. Treat people with respect. The money is going to come, but you have to practice the medicine. The reason why we practice this is not for money. It's because of the love. I'm going to give you one more scenario, and I'm going to sit down to tell you how important it is to listen to everyone around you and then formulate your own opinions. About 4 years ago, as you know, I'm an emergency room physician. We had a young girl present. The girl was about 12 years old with the parents. And she said she's having some pain and tingling in the bilateral lower extremities, and that the leg was turning blue. Wow, you know, when you hear blue, doctors, you're like, "Oh my God, what's going on? Is there an occlusion? Is there an obstruction somewhere? What's going on? Is there a circulation problem?" So we examined the patient, and indeed, you know, sometimes the patients exaggerate, and it's not really blue, but this time it was blue, like really blue, from the waist down. Wow, Samani. All the emergency room doctors was like, "Wow, what is going on here?" She had pulses. Everything was fine. She was talking. She did not overdose on anything. All the blood tests were completely normal. Wow, puzzling. We were about to fly the child to Children's Hospital of Atlanta. And there was a lady next door who kept on saying she wants to talk to the doctor. I want to talk to the doctor. And we said, "Oh no, we cannot talk to you because we are very busy." So after we thought before we called the helicopter, we went to the patient, the other patient that is disturbing us. And he said she's a clothes maker. She makes clothes. I said, okay, make clothes, okay. She said she knows what's going on with the girl. "Are you a doctor?" "I'm what?" "What?" He said, "Did we try to, that she saw the girl come in and she was wearing indigo pants?" "Indigo pants? What is that?" He said, "Go and take soap and water and wash the leg." Grab him and shop. When we washed the leg, it became pink. With all, we were about 6 doctors. We all felt stupid. But that illustrates, my friends, on their wings you shall fly. Come back, give to the school, acknowledge your professors. They are like your parents. So when you have kids, you are like their children. They want to know about your success. When you make it, remember Southwestern University FEMA. Remember on the shoulders of all the Filipino doctors, past and present, that you stand. May God bless you. May God bless you professionally. Do not underestimate yourself. Reach for the sky. I'm a proud alumni of Southwestern, and I hope one day, before 30 years, one of you is standing there giving a similar speech. Thank you so much.